Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be previewing Wolves versus Everton tonight in the Carabao Cup. We're going to be speaking about my predicted lineup for both sides, my score predictions, and also just generally both teams going into this game because there is a massive difference in form and in positivity around the club. So let's get straight into this one. Also, if you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. Now, of course, in the league, there's a massive gulfing class between both of the sides. Everton are on 7 points, could easily be 8 after they deserved a draw at Anfield, really. They were absolutely brilliant. I thought they played so well in that second half. But generally, I think it's a really interesting game, this one, because Wolves have been so poor in the league. Everything's been so poor, for being completely honest. Even the game in the Cup where they beat West Ham 3-2, that was because of Jorgen Larsson's absolute masterpiece. Nothing to do with the actual defenders or anything like that, because the actual defending in that game was abysmal. The 2 goals Wolves conceded were abysmal. And generally, the football this season has been abysmal. Now, in terms of the squads, Everton are a miles better squad, player for player, and let's be honest, most of their bench would get in this Wolves side, which is absolutely crazy in itself to say, given the fact that Wolves are now in their 8th season in the Premier League. 8th season in the Premier League, and this is the situation they find themselves in. Bottom of the league on a -9 goal difference, with just scoring 3 goals and 6 goals in all competitions in 6 games, which is absolutely just ludicrous in itself. Now, as I say, I'm not going to try and be negative in this video. I'm not being negative for the sake of being negative as well. I'm just simply seeing it how I see it and saying it, because I don't think many people do. I think people want to try and be positive, and don't get me wrong, I'd love to be, because that's what I try and do on this channel. I don't try and bring negativity, but there's only so much positivity going around the club at the minute that, let's be honest, you've got to talk about it. So I do think it's a really interesting game. I would love to see Wolves get a bit of form, get a bit of momentum by getting a result tonight. But let's look at the predicted lineups for both sides and how I could see this game going tactically. Now, tactically, I think it's a really interesting game, and I'm going to talk you through my predicted lineups for both sides. So, in goal, I've gone Sam Johnson. I actually think he's performed better than Sarr when Sarr's been in the net, to be honest. I think Sarr is so poor. I've said it for years. I'm not a huge fan of Jose Sarr at all. He's got a massive sort of bozo gene, for lack of a better word, to be honest. He's one of them that he just concedes. Some of the goals he concedes, you just watch him and think, how on earth have you let that in, mate? And I just felt like that against Leeds as well. I think some, especially the Okafor goal, I just don't get how he's beaten on Okafor's weak foot from that angle. It's just absolutely ludicrous to me. The Anton Stack goal, it's a worldie of a free kick, but when you actually watch it back, his positioning, it's dreadful. He should save it. He should absolutely save it. But he's gone the keeper's side. But anyway, we won't speak about the Leeds game anymore. That is done and dusted. Now, left-sided centre-back, I've gone for Ladislav Krejci, one of the few players that's impressed me this season. I like him. I really do. I'd like to see him playing in his natural position, given the fact that he was signed as a left-sided centre-back. Obviously, played as a 6 at Sparta Prague and played really well there. Took penalties and stuff like that for them as well. And generally is comfortable in midfield. Of course, he gives a silly foul away on the weekend. But for me, one of the few players that actually has somewhat of leadership qualities in this side, and I do think he's one that I would love to see come in for Totti Gomez as that left-sided centre-back. Central centre-back, I've gone for a massive risk, to be honest, because he's someone that I don't rate whatsoever. But when you look at the other options, he looks like bloody, I don't know, Maldini compared to some of the other options in that central centre-back role. I've gone for Santiago Bueno, just because simply Mosquera and Emmanuel Agbadou have got to come out of the team for at least one game, because they've been absolutely miles off it. And for me, I just don't see a more perfect time for them to come out of the team, to be honest. I think they've got to come out of the team in some capacity. So I would be starting someone different as that central centre-back. And I do think, we could see Krejci there and Totti the left-sided centre-back, which I wouldn't be completely against, but Totti's been absolutely miles off it again for me this season, so it's a really tough one. Right-sided centre-back for me, Matt Doherty. I just don't see how he doesn't get in this side. Obviously left out at the weekend completely, along with David Muller-Wolfer, but for me, he's got to play. He's one of the few players in this squad, if not the only player in this squad, that actually cares about the club and shows that he cares about the club, and his performances weren't that bad. He actually hasn't performed that bad this season when he's played, so I just don't see how Matt Doherty doesn't get in, especially with Wolves needing to rotate in the Cup somewhat. Right wing back, Jackson Tachua. Again, Rodrigo Gomez, Hugo Bueno have both played on that side at points this season. More recently, for me, Tachua comes in mainly because them two have played a hell of a lot of football, whether it's on either flank. And for me, I just think Tachua needs a game, and I would love to see him play on that right-hand side. Left wing back as well, David Muller-Wolfer. Now, again, left out the squad completely. Bueno and Rodrigo Gomez have played a lot of football. I would give him the chance. And I think if Everton line up the way I predict them to line up, then that's how I would play it personally. I think David Miller-Volford deserves a chance, and I'd like to see him play. Ultimately, a big outlay for a player that's not been playing as well, to be honest. So I think David Miller-Volford deserves a chance. In midfield, I've gone for Andre and Manetzi. Now, this is not an attractive midfield, I'm well aware. Andre simply has to play. I just can't fathom him being dropped on the weekend, to be honest. And Marshall Manetzi, I wouldn't say a hater of Marshall Manetzi. He offers nothing, in my opinion, other than running. Not a massive fan of him whatsoever. But I do think Joao Gomez needs a rest. He has been playing, full games a lot, and he's a player that, one of the few players with actual quality in this Wolves side. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer for him to come in. And as much as I don't want to see it, I think Jean-Martin Bellegarde alongside Andre, I think you're asking to get murdered in midfield, really, with them in there. So I do think a bit more of a defensive-minded Manetzi. Obviously, people think of Manetzi in the Wolves fan base as this number 10 because he's been played there this whole time under Vitor Pereira, but he is a number 6/8. He always has been. At Stade de Reims, he was that. So for me, I'm putting him in midfield. Then, off the left, John Arias. He needs to get a goal, an assist, make something happen, show some promise, because let's be honest, he hasn't so far, especially for the exciting signing that he initially was. Obviously played off that left hand side, which it's not his natural position. His natural position is out here, to be honest. But I think John Arias has to come into the team. Obviously hasn't played a hell of a lot of football in the last sort of week or so, really, as well. And generally, John Arias for me is another player that I think would start this game. Then off the right, Fer Lopez for me. Another one that I just think the criticism around him on the weekend was just baffling. He's one of these players that loses the ball a fair bit, yes. But why does he lose the ball? Because he's trying to make things happen. I don't care if a player loses the ball trying to make things happen, because it shows he wants to do stuff. It's what he's in the side to do, to unlock defences and make things happen, play that little key pass. That's what Fer Lopez does. People might think he's not physical enough for the Premier League, fair enough, but I can guarantee you now he will have a great career somewhere else if it's not a Wolverhampton Wanderers. That is a fact. And for me, Fer Lopez has to play in this side. And then up front, I've gone for Larson. He needs minutes. I think you give him 60 and bring Tolu on at 60, 70. But I do think Larson needs to play. Also for the fact that he is Wolves' biggest goal threat by some distance. And I just don't see how Larson doesn't start this game, even if he isn't fully fit. He needs to get fully fit. So games like this are perfect for him. So that's my predicted lineup for Wolves. Now, in terms of Everton, it really is interesting. I think Mark Travers will start in goal. I just don't see a world where Pickford plays in this game. The two centre-backs I don't think will change. I think Tarkowski and Keane will still be the centre-backs. They've had a really good season this season. Michael Keane has just surpassed all my expectations. He's looked really, really solid this year, and that's a real surprise for me because he is generally very, very poor and has been for Everton for a long, long time. Right back, I've gone for Jake O'Brien. Just a no-brainer again for me. I don't think Patterson will come in. I don't think he's good enough to come in. We could see Garner switch over there potentially, but for me, O'Brien's pretty much a nailed-on player to play there. Left back, we have gone for James Garner. Now, obviously, Mikalenko is fit. Now, James Garner played left back a fair bit this season so far, and I do think he will slot in back at left back now. Now Mikalenko is back. I do think he'll be the first choice option for Everton in the league, and I do think Garner will be playing there as a left back in this game. In midfield, as the double pivot, I've gone for Tim Iroegbunam and Ruel. Now, both impressed me when they've played this season. Ruel's a really nice footballer to watch, to be honest, and I've really liked him in Germany last season as well, obviously on loan from Germany this year as well. And then Tim Iroegbunam, a player that I think could get at this Wolves midfield, and a player that I think is really, really promising. He's so strong, so quick on the ball, carries the ball really well, and just a player that I really like a hell of a lot, to be quite honest. Through the middle, I've gone for Charlie Alcaraz as the number 10. I just think he plays this game. He hasn't made a hell of a lot of, starts or played a hell of a lot of football this season so far. I do think it's a perfect game for Alcaraz to come in that central position. Off the right-hand side, it is usually Iliman Ndiaye, of course, terrorised Wolves a few games back, and generally a player that, I really, really rate. But Tyler Diblin is a player, again, really exciting, young. He's got to get minutes somewhere, got to get a bit of form in the team. Big expectations on him for the price tag as well. And just generally, I think Tyler Diblin plays this game pretty comfortably. And I'd be pretty confident in saying that. Off the left, Jack Grealish. I still think he'll play. Ultimately, when you look at it off the left-hand side, I think Iliman Ndiaye could play there. He could. But I don't think he will. I think Ndiaye will be fully rested. I think Grealish will get minutes. And I do think he'll come off later on in the game for someone playing in that wide position. And then up front, Tiano Barry, a player that, again, hasn't played a ridiculous amount, played the last 45 against Liverpool, looked more threatening to a Liverpool backline than Beto did in that whole first 45, to be honest. So I do think Barry will be another player that could cause Wolves a lot of problems. He's got good running power. He makes really clever runs as well into the box. He's got pace, and I do think he's one of them perfect players to hurt this Wolves backline, to be honest. So I do think it's going to be a very interesting game to see how they line up tactically. I think Jackson Tachua's got a big role to play tonight, especially if Grealish does play. I think Tyler Diblin's got a massive role tonight as well, up against David Muller-Wolfer potentially, or whoever plays off that left-hand side, really. I think Diblin's a real threat, and I do generally think it's going to be a really interesting game. But let's just speak about my score predictions and how I want to see the game go tonight. Now, in terms of the game, I think it's going to be a really interesting one. Wolves absolutely need a result. Let's make that abundantly clear. Wolves do need a result. That is not even up for debate. It's a non-negotiable. They need to go out and win tonight. There needs to be some form of momentum, some form of positivity, something around the club that gives the fans a bit of a boost. Because let's be honest, it was absolutely toxic against Leeds. As soon as it went 1-1, it was just toxic. I mean, fans chanting, you've sold the team, now sell the club, and I completely agree with them. Fosun out again, of course, and just generally, it is just, I don't care about Jeff Shee chants as well. It's just generally so negative, but I completely stand with Wolves fans on their opinions on the owners 100%. Vitor Pereira, for me, as you know, the jury's massively out on him. The 3-year contract is abysmal. Whether you like Vitor Pereira or not, it's abysmal business. And generally, he needs a result as well. He's desperate for a result. Because it's all right saying nice things in press conferences, positive things in press conferences, but we're all watching the same football every week. It's dire. So Wolves do need a result. That is non-negotiable. And my score prediction for tonight, I'm going to be slightly optimistic. And say Wolves win 2-1. I don't know where 2 goals are coming from, but I would like to see Wolves win. I think they need to win. I think it's a non-negotiable. I do think Everton will be looking at this as a really big opportunity to go further in the Cup. Obviously, haven't won a trophy since 1995. You're welcome, Everton fans. But I do think it's going to be a really interesting game. I do think it will be a really interesting game from both sides tactically as well, to see who also plays. I could have got the lineups massively wrong, but they're the players that I think will play or are more likely to play for both sides anyway. So thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, like I said at the start of the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you at full time.